Did they just tell us to turn off, stop filming?
I think that's what they said, honestly.
It is a story that made headlines back in January this year. 26-year-old Robert Ethan Saylor died of asphyxia after sheriff's deputies out of Frederick, Maryland tried to remove him from a theater because he was reportedly staying in his seat for another movie without paying.
It's a mystery, an injury that goes unexplained in Ethan Saylor's autopsy report. A fractured cartilage in Saylor's throat. Experts say it's an unusual injury to see in a choking case. A forensic pathologist not familiar with the case says the injury happens from some kind of force.
We're looking for the truth to be exposed because people with developmental disabilities should not be treated as second-class citizens.
The 98-page report that was released by the Sheriff's Department is very incomplete. There are things that were left out, and there are things, when you leave part of a statement out, it might change the meaning of it.
The Frederick County Sheriff's Office investigated. A grand jury found no wrongdoing on the part of those deputies.
But Ethan's family and others say that can't be the end of it. So today, backed by the power of 340,000 online petition signatures, she is turning to the governor and demanding an independent investigation of Ethan's death.
The Maryland Commission on Community Inclusion was formed out of a tragedy, but it was formed with a determined perspective, not just to focus on tragedy, but to focus on change.
Patty was the force behind a group called Ethan's Law, which meets every month to plan a strategy to pass a law to mandate training of law enforcement and first responders. And all I have to say is, I am extremely grateful to Patty for her efforts because I know all of our kids will be better protected because of what she's doing.
Change and positive legislation really starts with a personal story.
One of the signs that we made at the sign shop, Ethan and I, this is his Rasta flag. He liked to make the flags. He told me he wanted to make every flag of the entire world. And I said, okay, then we can do that, but it's gonna take a while.
First day I was supposed to work with him, I had to go get a tooth pulled, so I couldn't. So the next day I come over and he has a wheelchair out, he's in a robe, he says, "You're sick, go lay down." So I go lay down, do what he says, and then he's gone for like an hour, and I'm like, oh my goodness, I lost this kid already. And then later he comes back and he has a bucket full of flowers for me. And I actually got a tattoo because he got me dandelions and stuff, so I have a Down syndrome ribbon tattoo with his name with dandelions on my ankle.
I think in my mind it was instant friendship, but then it just started to develop into something so much more.
Ethan went to church every Sunday and sat through both services, so his support staff on Sunday mornings would attend church with him, and he didn't want to sit with me because he had his own life. He was a young adult, he didn't want to be hanging out with Mom. But he had developed so many friends at church, people that I didn't know he even knew. So that when we did have his service, oh my gosh, there were over 400 people at Ethan's funeral service. He could bring out the vulnerableness in everybody because he was so dependent and vulnerable himself that, he just brought out the best in people usually. The ability for people to let down their guard and accept affection and hug him back.
Our best weapons are our advocates and their personal stories and the boots on the ground that they provide in order for us to get legislation like Ethan's Law passed or major legislation like the Achieving a Better Life Experience Act.
The Commission for the Effective Community Inclusion of Individuals with Intellectual and Developmental Disabilities, the commission that was formed through executive order from the Governor of Maryland, finished their work in about 2 years, and one of the recommendations from the commission was to put forth legislation that would establish the Ethan Saylor Alliance for self-advocates as educators. It was important to people in the commission and to the community that people with disabilities be not only involved in trainings, but to have a leadership role as co-trainers. the governor signed the legislation and to establish this vehicle for self-advocates to be trained as co-trainers and to be able to be paid to do this work of coordinating with law enforcement and being part of the training team.